6 new features are going to be introduced with the new and upcoming XRPL update. It's one, if not the biggest update to the XRP Ledger for a long time. More performance, better memory usage, better memory allocation, and overall an increase in stability for nodes on the network. But there's a catch. 2 out of these 6 new features aren't even new, and one of them isn't even a feature. Let's take a look at what's upcoming to XRP. Hey, what's going on everyone? My name is Krippenreiter, and today I'm going to try my best to explain the new upcoming features with as little jargon as possible to you. I know it's complicated. So first, what even is this new XRP Ledger D version 3.3 stuff, right? Sounds super complicated. When we talk about blockchain in general, you have to imagine it all as a spider web made up of large computers. So let's take this overview. Let me add a few PCs. Let's call this PC1. And then a second one we call PC2. And just a few more, like PC3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All these big PCs, we call them in the IT, we call them servers, but just imagine these are all personal computers, just normal, but a little bit bigger personal computers. They are all talking to each other. And they are also all following certain rules. And they are also listening to each other and also pushing data. And they also all know exactly what they are capable of doing in this setup. So let's say PC1 is a validator. Let's say PC3 is a hub. And PC5, for example, is just a normal submission node, and PC2 again is maybe a validator and so on, but they are all connected to each other and talking to each other. So PC1 is connected to PC3, PC3 to PC5, PC5 to PC2, and so on and so on. Everyone is connected to everyone else because it's a decentralized network, right? It's all distributed. Every PC is probably owned by someone else. So let's say PC1 is owned by me, PC3 could be owned by you. And we are all living in different countries, different continents, and we are all dispersed in the sense that all these nodes are dispersed and distributed across the whole globe. But because we are all connected to each other, we all together form the XRP Ledger. So everything that you can see right now is forming the XRPL. And the way this is all working is because every one of these computers has software installed that acts as a service. So something that is working in the background. On the XRP Ledger, we call the software XRP Ledger D. D stands for daemon and is just a fancy word for service. But software gets updated all the time, right? The XRPL service software running on all these different computers is not different in any way. In our case, we are going to move from version 3.2.1 to version 3.3.0. The first number in the setup stands for major. So anytime something major is changing, let's say the consensus algorithm, for example, we would change the first number. The second number is minor, is a minor change. So let's say we introduce new features, then we would change the second number. And the last number is a patch. So anytime there is a hotfix needed to fix something that is going on right now. So for example, the XRPL has a critical vulnerability. It needs to be patched rather soon than later. This is when a new patch version is introduced. But again, on all these PCs, we always want the same version to be running so that we can form consensus. So every one of these PCs is running XRP Ledger D, a certain version, hopefully the same version. This is what it's basically all about. It's about updating the already running service on every computer or server, in the sense every node, to the next new version. So from going to version 3.2.1, we are going to the new version, which is 3.3.0. But with this, what is all this new stuff that is going to be introduced, all these new features? What will these new features introduce to the XRP Ledger that isn't there already? Let's talk about this as well. First, we have a feature that is called batch. The second one that is going to be introduced is something called confidential transfer. The third one is sponsor. The other features that are going to be introduced are permission delegation, dynamic MPT, and also something that is called fix cleanup 3_3_0. As I said in the beginning, one of them isn't even a feature. Can you guess which one? It's the fix cleanup feature. You probably guessed it. You can think of this like all the possible software fixes and security fixes that all the XRPL devs were able to find for this new release, basically all bundled up into one big bag of code that would enact all at once the moment this feature gets enacted on the XRPL via the consensus. All the other features that are actually features are a lot more interesting, I promise. Except for maybe dynamic MPT. We will skip this one because it's just about making the multi-purpose token standard properties changeable after creation. So this is just something that enhances the multi-purpose token standard, but it's nothing that I'm personally very much interested in because it just makes the multi-purpose token standard a lot more flexible, but that's it. Let's start with batch. Batch in itself, as the name probably already kind of suggests, is a feature that bundles up to 8 transactions into one. So instead of signing every single transaction one by one, so let's say a payment and then an NFT creation, you could bundle them all up together and only sign the transaction, the outer transaction that wraps it all together. But there's more. Batch also comes with modes, so kind of conditions. And the most important one is the all or nothing mode. This one especially is important because it allows us to introduce app monetization for retail apps on the XRPL and the delivery versus payment, so DVP use case for institutions. Delivery versus payments means that two parties can exchange and settle cash and equity in a way so that both sides know with 100% certainty that the trade either goes through or nothing happens. So there will never be partial states. This is what they call atomic settlement because it either happens or it doesn't happen. Then we have permission delegation. With this feature, it lets institutions hand over certain transaction permissions without giving up full control. So this is security in depth for them. For Ripple Mint, for example, this could may mean that they would be able to whitelist authorized partners, so partner banks, for example, for minting Ripple USD as well. So not only Ripple being able to mint Ripple USD, also partners as well. Circle does this already, so for people who know Circle, this is nothing new. Ripple could, for example, copy this pretty easily, and this would be something that would scale Ripple's Ripple USD minting capabilities and issuances as well a lot. Then we have sponsor, so sponsored fees and reserves. And sponsor is basically very easy to understand. The moment you do literally anything on the XRPL, you always have to lock up XRP for the activation of your account and also lock up XRP, let's say, for an offer create that you create, or let's say you trade on the DEX, you hold NFTs, you hold tokens, you have to hold objects on the XRPL. And for this, you have to hold XRP as well. You have to lock up XRP because this is an anti-spam mechanism. But you also, for anti-spam, you also have to burn XRP, let's say, for transactions. And this is obviously tech complexity because the normal person doesn't know anything about these behind the scenes requirements that you have to fulfill to interact with the XRPL. And sponsor would abstract this away. An entity could basically abstract this initial complexity for the user and pay on behalf of the customer, which would make it possible for something like, let's say, neobanks to come to the XRPL, because they could basically abstract all the initial onboarding that a user would need to go through and make it possible for them to just onboard on the XRPL and be there and use the XRPL to do payments. Lastly, we have confidential transfers. And this is a feature that would, for the first time ever, add privacy to the XRPL, but only in a way so that balances and transfers of multi-purpose tokens will be hidden and encrypted. So this is not something that will, let's say, encrypt your NFT balances, or let's say your IOU balances, or your XRP holdings. It is only 4 multi-purpose tokens. So we have IOU trust line based tokens, we have NFT tokens, and we have the new multi-purpose token standard that is about RWAs, right? So equities, bonds, all these new kinds of tokenizations that are coming to the XRPL. The idea is for them to use the new multi-purpose token standard. And for this, the institutions want confidentiality, but they also need to, let's say, have the ability to do selective disclosure for, let's say, tax purposes or compliance purposes. And what confidential transfers will offer them is exactly this. It will allow them to issue these kinds of new multi-purpose tokens, but the balances that people hold with these kinds of issuances is hidden. And whenever you want to transfer an amount, it's also hidden. But again, as I said, the XRP holdings are not hidden. And let's say I hold, let's say 10 Apple stocks and I send them to you. The thing that is not hidden is the transfer from my account to your account. So you can still see that my XRPL account is sending some kind of tokens to you, but not the amount. And it's also not visible how much I hold in the beginning before I did the transfer. So this, just to be very clear, I think this is really important to understand, because many people misconstrue this as the moment we have this, we have privacy for everything. It's not the case. It's just for multi-purpose tokens, just for balances, and just for transfers of these multi-purpose tokens. The account privacy will come later next year probably, and also XRP, hopefully at some point, maybe even anonymity at some point, but the confidential transfer feature is just for the multi-purpose token standard. Again, enhancing the capabilities of what this new token standard will offer to the XRPL and to the customers and users of the XRPL. This is what's upcoming: new features, new possibilities, and new use cases for retail and institutions alike to build on. Personally, I'm most bullish on Batch and how it will influence the way we are going to use the XRPL, because the user experience will be a lot smoother. What's the feature you are most looking forward to? Write it in the comments. On the right side, you can now also watch a video I did about the upcoming lending protocol and what you should definitely learn first before you jump into it. Or if you still have any questions, write them in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this overview about the new upcoming XRPL update with everyone you know. I wish you a very lovely day, and as always, until next time, see you. Ciao, ciao.